Good day everyone. I'm Ethan, moderator for this webinar. Welcome everyone for today's webinar, Advanced Excel Skills for Accountants. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, David H. Ringstorm. David H. Ringstorm, CPA, is an author and nationally recognized instructor. His Excel courses are based on over 25 years of consulting and teaching experience. David is president of Accounting Advisors Incorporation. David's mantra is either you work Excel or it works you. His goal is to empower you to use Excel more effectively. I would now like to hand over the floor to one of the best IT speaker, David H. Ringstorm.
Thank you, Ethan. Hello, everyone. I'm David Ringstrom, a CPA in Atlanta. Welcome to Advanced Excel Skills for Accountants. Over the course of our time today, we're going to delve into several different areas of Excel. We're going to start out with a couple of disaster recovery, or hopefully disaster prevention even, techniques that you can apply so that you can reduce some of that risk of Excel spreadsheets going proof on you unexpectedly. We'll finish out the presentation looking at Power Query. I'll be teaching from the Microsoft 365 version of Excel. That is the newest version of Excel. I will be showing you everything at least twice today. I'll first walk you through it on the PowerPoint slides, which are very detailed and have numbered steps, and then I'll go over to Excel and carry out those techniques firsthand. So with that, let's begin by letting me show you a couple of disaster recovery techniques. Now, I will preface this by saying that these techniques are relevant if you're saving files to your local computer or to maybe a network drive. And step 4 points out the Save AutoRecover Information setting. On your computer, that setting is set to every 10 minutes. I recommend you change it to every 2 minutes. Access these files. You can access them in 2 ways. One, let's say that you close the workbook accidentally without saving. The next time we go into Excel, if we go to File and then Open, on the Recent menu, at the bottom of the Recent menu, we'll see a command that says Recover Unsaved Workbooks. And when we make that choice, that puts us in the Unsaved Workbooks folder, where we can then access any files that we closed without saving. Files stay there for 3 or 4 days. And that's where that default setting every 10 minutes means it wouldn't back up your file maybe for 20 or 25 minutes. Sometimes we're not in an Excel spreadsheet that long. So, but as long as you're in the file for 4 or 5 minutes, then it should create a backup there. And so that would give you the ability to recover your work. This next setting is workbook specific, and it's one that you may wish to set for critical workbooks. Now, for this setting, you do have to turn this on one workbook at a time. What it will do for you is that going forward, whenever you save your file, the previous copy will get renamed and called backup of whatever your file is. Excel assigns a XLK file extension to it, and it doesn't recognize XLK as a valid file extension. And so when you go to open your backup, Excel is going to give you this intimidating prompt that says it looks like the file is corrupted, and do you want to open it? You can disregard that crazy prompt because you will be able to open the file. The backups are always stored in the same folder as the original document, so there's no option to have a backups folder. They are going to get saved in the same folder where the original file is there. But let's move on from disaster recovery to working with lookup functions. And the granddaddy of all lookup functions in Excel is the VLOOKUP function. So the VLOOKUP function has 4 arguments, or 4 things that it needs to know. First thing it needs to know is what is our lookup value. So the lookup value is what are we looking for. The table array is then the cell coordinates of the list, column index number. That's the column from which we want to return data. Finally, we can specify what type of match that we want. If we went by the book, we would choose the word false for an exact match or true for an approximate match, the index and match functions. It eliminates a lot of the issues that VLOOKUP has, because what we're doing is we're segregating the functionality. So the match function is going to, in this case, identify the row that we want. The index function will then return the data from the column that we specify. So the match function has 3 arguments. There is the lookup value, lookup array, which is going to be a single column or a single row. and then we put 0 for an exact match. So that's going to give us a row position, and then we'll wrap the index function around the outside. The index function has 3 arguments. The first 2 are required, the third one is optional. So we're going to specify an array, and then we'll use the match function to display the row number. So XLOOKUP is available in Excel 2021 and also Microsoft 365. Now, XLOOKUP actually has 6 arguments, and I'm going to start out with showing you the first 3 because that's the bare minimum that's required. So it's provide a lookup value. A lookup array, which is similar to the match function, will be a single row or single column. So XLOOKUP replaces both VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. And then we have a return array, which are the cell coordinates of what do we want to return. For XLOOKUP, you can create a lookup that entails using multiple criteria. XLOOKUP can return values to multiple cells. Not only can it display results across multiple cells, we can also wrap the sum function around the outside of XLOOKUP and then basically look up multiple values and then add them up in one single formula. So I want to quickly run you through a progression that you can do to see how you can track that down. So this brings us to Power Query. And Power Query is a tool that we can use to transform reports such as this one into analysis-ready formats. That will bring it into the Power Query editor where I can then start cleaning it up. On the home menu, I can click Remove Rows. I can say Remove Top Rows. It says 2 here, but I'm actually going to get rid of 3 rows and then click OK. And then I'll say Use First Row as Headers. That will take the first row and move the headings up into the worksheet frame. So one last thing I want to share with you is that when you do use Power Query, you will then encounter a new data security prompt that will appear. So if I were to close this file and reopen it, when I open it, I'm going to see this Enable Content button there. It can't refresh the data until I click Enable Content. But rather than clicking that button, don't click there. Instead, go to the File menu, go to Info, click the secondary Enable Content, and then say Enable All Content. All right, well, that brings us to the end of my prepared comments for today.
Thanks, David. That was a wonderful webinar.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now.